support and second pensions. As this motion has financial implications, in accordance with paragraph 87, chapter 4 of the Constitution, it will be referred to the Cabinet in the event that it is agreed. I call upon Councillor Prendergast to move his motion.
So moved.
Is that seconded?
Seconded by the Member reserve the right.
Are there any amendments? No? Councillor Prendergast, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Approximately 56,000 pensioners across Sefton have lost their winter fuel allowance because of the decision taken by the Labour government. Around 12,500 in Bootle, 22,500 in Sefton Central, and around 20,000 in Southport. Now, every single Labour MP in Sefton, including the MP for Southport, where we are tonight, voted against measures that could have seen the winter fuel allowance kept. In this chamber, at the last council meeting, every single Labour councillor present voted not once, but twice against measures which would have supported our local pensions. Now, we talked tonight about local health issues and how they might change in Southport. The impact of the winter fuel allowance changes will have a very significant impact on our local health services. Labour's own estimates, not ours, but Labour estimates, said that up to 4,000 excess deaths over the winter could result from removing the winter fuel allowance. Meaning potentially, between now and the end of this Parliament, around 20,000 pensioners would die as a result of this callous decision by
some of the worst, most adversely affected by this. So, Madam Mayor, I'm not going to be lectured by Tory councillors about pensioner hardship, because quite frankly, you caused it.
You took it away.
However, Madam Mayor, faced with the most dire financial circumstances, I now wish to remind Tory councillors what this Labour-led council did to help Sefton pensioners and other Sefton residents in financial hardship to cope with the consequences of the Tories' gross mismanagement of the economy. This Labour-led council worked with our partners, particularly those in the voluntary and faith sector who we've celebrated this evening, to open up a borough-wide network of over 40 warm spaces. I'm surprised you didn't know that, Councillor Prendergast. Places that provide people comfort, company, food, advice, and things such as access to internet facilities. A practical and grassroots response to an urgent yet avoidable crisis. These warm spaces are open today. This Labour-led council has undertaken a campaign and continues to do so to support people to claim pension credit, which can be worth up to £3,900 per annum. This has been mirrored with all three Labour...
In terms of definitive policy decisions, the country spends £1,200 billion per year. A figure of 9 billion would be managed through the Whitehall system in exactly the same way as that sort of a figure in proportionate terms would be done through this particular council. We are in deficit now. We are due to end up making a loss, but I think we've all got confidence that we won't do so. And they failed to follow the basic advice that there is. If you're in a hole, what do? You stop digging. Well, what the Labour government did was they did stop digging. They threw out the shovels and they brought in some machines from JCB and turned the black hole into a cavern. Now, there's absolutely no financial justification for taking action against pensioners that will have an impact, as the notice of motion says, of 0.0183% of total expenditure. I could be facetious and say that's petty cash. It's not petty cash. It's the loose change from the petty cash. So why pensioners have been treated in such a manner is frankly totally beyond us. Now, what Councillor Prendergast has attempted to do tonight is not to say that we as a council can provide a solution, because we can't, but we can mitigate. Now, all the evidence shows, and anybody who's anything to do with the health service in particular will tell you that the impact on the elderly from this policy will be extremely detrimental. There's no question about it. It's not an opinion, it's a fact. It's going to happen. And what the Conservative group here have proposed is what you would probably expect from us. It's practical, it can be done very quickly, it can be done in conjunction with people who know how to do these things. And we've also taken into account one other point. One of the justifications was that everybody got it. It was a universal benefit whether you needed it or whether you didn't. This notice of motion clearly excludes pensioners who are in incomes where such concession couldn't possibly be justified. And we've also built into this ways in which it can be sure that there will actually be no abuse of the system. Now, I do understand how incredibly difficult it would be for Labour members to actually support this notice of motion. But there are Labour people in authority throughout the whole of the country who are prepared to stand up for their communities. One of them is the Mayor of Greater Manchester, and Burnham, who will not accept the 50% increase in the bus fares, and has said that from his resources he will pay the difference on behalf of the people there. So in other words, if the will is there, people find the means. But the last point, by the way, and the one which troubles me most, is the political point. And I don't say that lightly. All of the people who are involved here have no mechanism or means by which they can make their voice heard. The government is working on the basis that by the time we get to the next election, the vast majority of them won't be here. And they also know that those who take their place will be thought not to be something they've never had. It's the most cynical move that I've seen in all the time that I've been involved in politics. If you have any consideration at all the people you've harmed, you will pass this notice of motion and you will give some element, a very small element, but nevertheless important, of mitigation to the damage you've done to one of the most single vulnerable sections of our society. Vote for it, because if you don't, come 2026, it will be an all-out election and we'll all be out.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In general response, really, what I would say is that you're in government now. You can't just keep blaming us for everything. You're making your own decisions. You chose to do this. You chose to take away the winter fuel allowance from millions of pensioners across the country. We didn't make you do it. The Democrats didn't make you do it. You decided to do that. And you did that in order to allocate money elsewhere. You chose to make a big public sector pay rise. That's a choice. You've been entitled to make that choice. You won the election. But what you shouldn't be doing is then making another section to pay for that. One of the most vulnerable sections of society. And then trying to blame the previous government for a decision that you've chosen to make. And I think that we, as a council, because the Labour group have quite clearly shown they are not going to change their minds, that they are not going to support any measures put forward by opposition parties to try to campaign to bring back the winter fuel allowance. So we either try and do something to try to mitigate the damaging effects of what you've done, or we sit by and do nothing. So those are the two choices.
Most people don't.
Yeah. All those in favour of the motion?
Aren't you ashamed of yourselves? Labour councillors, aren't you ashamed of yourselves?
Just do as you're told.
Like nodding dogs. terrified.
Against?
Blood on your hands.
You are absolutely disgraceful. What a disgrace.
It's my brother and unbelievable.
Oh, you're a disgrace.
Faces on film.
One big party, eh?
How disgraceful. Get every single one of them on film.
Shame on you.
How do they sleep at night? Not one of them with any integrity.
Shameful. Got no chance of any protection for anyone.
One big
So that's
Absolutely.
4 for, 50 against, the motion is lost. Agenda item number 20, motion submitted by councillor Howard.